Hello guys, welcome to Jeff's Garage Adventures. You like tools? You like car tech tips and repairs? This is your channel. What do we got here today? Well, we got 2009 Honda CRV. I'm going to show you how to do the front brake pads. I'm not going to take off the rotor. This is assuming you only need brake pads, but if you need rotors, it's one more step. What do we need for tools? This will also work. It'll work from 2007 to 2011 Honda CRVs. You need a little hammer, some kind of file, some kind of wire brush, a C-clamp to push back that caliper, some kind of pry bar, that's a Wildy, by the way, with a striking cap on the back, 14mm wrench, an impact, or if you're doing it on the ground, you can use a breaker bar. It happens to be a Milwaukee Gen 1 M12. Or a ratchet, or what I'm using here is a Milwaukee battery operated ratchet, 14mm socket. So you need a 14mm socket and a 19mm socket as well. This is assuming you're not replacing your rotors. We're not going to go that far. Let's pull off this caliper first. Now, I did these not too long ago, so they have lube on them, but I always use Never Seas on my bolts. I live in a salt belt, by the way, guys. Short and sweet. I'm not going to go too crazy with this video. That one's coming out. That one's got Never Seas on it as well. I'm going to pull the caliper off. If it sticks, you can use a pry bar. This one didn't come off too bad because it's been off not too long ago. And you got to take these. You got to take the pistons and push them back with a C-clamp. I typically use the old. Let's see if I can get this out of here. The old brake pads. Let me hang that up. I'm using the Arcan caliper hanger. You can use a co-hanger if you want. It doesn't really matter, guys. Whatever works for you, right? You're on a tight budget, you might use a co-hanger. Put that out of the way, but these pads, now typically if you're replacing pads, you don't care if you damage those with a pry bar because you're not going to reuse them. But I'm going to be a little gingerly about it because I'm going to reuse these, so I got to be careful. My pad's got a lot of wear left. Back one here, let me see if we can get this in here. This is mostly just for the pads we're doing. We're not going to take off the rotor, although a lot of times I do a brake job, the rotors are gone too. But these aren't too bad, so we're not going to worry about it too much. Take them off. Got to be gingerly because I'm going to be reusing these pads again. They're not that bad. There's the pads. My pads got a lot of wear on them. I got some crap on there. If you were going to take off the rotor, you'd take the 2 pins, bolts in the back, and then you could pull that rotor right off. This bracket's got to come off. We're not going to do that. When you get new pads, you usually get new hardware. You'll get hardware like this. Usually I clean this out. This has already got some lube in it. I clean them out. I clean it anyways. I clean them out pretty good with a rag, and I also clean in here the little cradles that go in, as you can see right there. Pop it back in. If we can here. Back in there. I use silicone paste. This is great for safe on metal, rubber, plastic parts, prevents oxidation. Oxidation? That's how I've been using it for many, many years. I take it and I put some lube where the pads are going to go inside of. Mine are already pretty good, but I lube the backside. And then I pull out, I always check these pins because I pull the rubber back, I don't know if you've seen that, and I pull them out. Mine got pretty good amount of grease on them. I'm going to clean it off anyways and redo it for you. I clean off all the old excess grease, and then I put the paste on it as well. Put a generous amount of paste on there. I pop it back in. You'll know when it's back in. Pull the bottom one out. There's the bottom pin. I do the same thing with the bottom pin. I'll clean off any old grease or crap, whatever gets in there. And I'll take my paste again. This is good stuff, guys. It's the only stuff I use. And I'll put it back a generous amount on the pins. Put it back in. Bada boom, bada bang, that's in. Those look pretty good. Probably need a little more lube on the top here. So my pads aren't too bad. Rotors aren't too bad. I probably won't do mine brakes until next year. This is just for demonstration purposes, guys. Typically, I'll take the old pad and I'll put it inside the caliper. I'll put it in a caliper here. I don't know if I can show you here. I can show you. I'll put the old pad in the caliper, if you can see it or not. And I'll take a C-clamp and I push it back in. The caliper's back in. The piston's back in. Otherwise, if you don't do that, you're not going to get that caliper back on. Let's hang this back up here for a bit here, if we can. Like so. If I hit the camera, sorry about the camera. Hanging out of the way. You guys can see it hanging. It's hanging off of the strut. And now we're going to slide the pads back in. I'll take the pads as well, and I'll take and put some lube on the ears. I don't know if you can see that. You can always tell this is the outer pad because there's the wear indicators on the front pad. Let me see if we can move this over here. Get a different perspective on the angle here if we can. I think that's on. Sometimes the pads can be tricky. Usually it's the inner one that's harder. The inner pad, it's got the indicator. So that's how you know. The inner pad's always got the indicator. Let's put some lube on this one here as well. Just on the tabs. Let me see. We can get in here. If I can get in here. Okay, so we want to get this in here. This has got some rust on the back side of these, boy. Holy moly. A lot of rust on these vehicles. I live in a salt belt, guys, and this is what you get. Freaking rust. Rust, and rust. Like I said, the inner one's always harder to get in. Never fails. Mainly because you can't see that good. I tap them in easy. Lubrication is important, guys. That's the main. Lubrication is very, very important. with your brake components. That's why how you get uneven wear. I always use this stuff. I always use this. This stuff is awesome stuff. Made by 3M. It's expensive, but that bottle will last you a long time. And for never seize, I usually use Permatex anti-seize. Now we're not going to take the rotor off. I don't need new rotors, but if you're going to pull the rotor off, you got to pull these caliper brackets off. We're not doing that today. Short and sweet. We try to make it short. I dropped that, but who cares? This should slide on. You'll know if you don't have your calipers pushed back enough. If you don't have those pistons pushed back enough, you're not going to get this bracket on. I can tell you that right now. I don't need any more never seize on these, but I always put never seize on the threads. Try to get this one started if we can. That one started. The bottom one, it's already got never seize on it. Try to get that one in here. That's one thing about never seize. Trying to get it off your hands after. That's basically it, guys. You know, that's basic maintenance for these things. You live in a salt belt, you got to do this. Double check them with I usually double check them with a wrench. It's pretty snug. I don't know how many pounds these are. They're probably like, I'm guessing, maybe 18 pounds you got to put them at. It's not a lot. That's it, guys, you know. And check your master cylinder, you know. Make sure you didn't spill any fluid out of it. And when you go to get back in here and test it out, make sure you push the brake pedal down multiple times to reset those calipers. You don't got to open up those bleeders. A lot of times, if you open up those bleeders to compress the piston back, you could break a bleeder in a salt belt, especially where I live. So I would say I wouldn't recommend doing that. And then another thing is when you don't open the bleeder up, if you can't push back that caliper with a C-clamp, either you got a seized caliper, the piston, or your hose. Your hose up here is collapsed inside, and they're going to need new brake caliper hose. That happens a lot too, guys. You can't tell it by the outside. All right, guys, that's it for today. Hope you like it, and try to make it short as I could. Hopefully somebody got something out of this. Take